Welcome back to another JJK Modulo manga chapter review. We're sadly at the end of Modulo, but I'm excited to close this out with y'all. Make sure to like and subscribe, and let's jump right into it. Breaking down the end of Modulo. Now I know that we were all very excited for this, and there were a lot of questions that we needed answered, and I was very scared that we were not going to get those answers. However, they did a pretty good job of tying everything together. And so looking back on it, this was a great little short, little piece of manga. I mean, I know that we weren't expecting it to be very much because it was supposed to be a short-term project. I was kind of hoping that there was going to be more, as this was, I thought, a practice run, and if it grew in popularity, they would expand on it, which I guess they still could, but we'll get into that later. However, let's just kind of get into the chapter real quick, and then we'll go into the review part. So starting where we left off, I didn't want to go into last week's chapter. I skipped because there wasn't enough information to really go into a full video. I wanted to kind of close it out because I believe the last chapter went hand in hand with this one. They almost said the same things. But let's go ahead getting over to this. So we finally get to see Nobara. Sorry, I kind of butcher her name all the time. But we kind of get a nice little reunion between the two, and Panda as well. And we basically just have Yuji clarifying exactly what happened and what they did, into which they basically eradicated any sorcerers from ever appearing again, along with cursed spirits. And so that being said, that kind of brings an end to the JJK universe almost. Now, we do know that, like they discussed, there's going to be a period of around maybe like 300 years where some very strong people will pop up still. However, they're trying to mitigate that, and they're trying to plan around that, and they're going to track down people from strong family trees, and they have all these plans to take care of. And so I think that in the long run, JJK is over. This was Gege's way of saying there will be no more JJK unless they try to spin off of that. And I guess they have 300 years to break that down. They also said that Yuji would be used as a curse tool. At least that's what he's planning for himself, in a way, kind of like Sukuna. And they kind of joke like nobody wants to eat you like that, which is it was very silly. And they go ahead and jump into the idea that they're going to have to make a bunch of cursed tools as well, for people with like heavenly restrictions, in order to help combat some of the stronger, I guess, curse users that are going to be born as a result of this. However, you have to remember that this is a very small amount, simply because there's not going to be any more curses. We're basically just like, squeezing out the last drops over the next couple hundred years, and then that's it. And so, you have to have something to be able to combat that. And I guess that's kind of what they're planning for. But next, I would really like to jump into what happened with Maharaga. So let's close that out. So Yuka, she was able to be healed 100% completely. So she's safe. She's healthy now. She'll be able to live a long, fulfilling life. However, following that, Maharaga was dispelled, and Deborah was sent back to his home planet, into which he basically told, I forgot their names, how they were separated, but he basically told the people that were like kind of like dominating that place, that, he's in charge now, and he sets the rules, and he basically made it safe for everybody else. And so now, I guess, Deborah, although he doesn't want to claim power, he basically just made the rules to leave and then let them do whatever they want. Although, he's the powerhouse, so he's in control pretty much. But that's where we leave off with Deborah and Maharaga. I know we kind of wanted to see a lot more. We wanted to see somebody be a clear victor. However, it seemed like their two kind of abilities kind of canceled out each other. And it was like each one is just getting stronger and stronger. And so maybe there just wouldn't have been a conclusion. Maybe Deborah would have just eventually gotten so strong that he was able to one-shot Maharaga. But I'm not too sure. I kind of feel like they wrote themselves into a hole with that one, and this was the quick answer. which is fine with me. I'm glad we got some clarity. But yeah, that was the end of them. Now, jumping over to the final conclusion of JJK Modulo, there's been peace has been brought to the world. Now, the client, Kylans, whatever, I cannot pronounce their name. I hope, I need to figure that out. However, they are living in harmony with the humans at this point. The last, couple panels are of just them playing baseball and, kind of talking amongst each other of how, everything's going to be and how everyone's happy. And it was kind of a sweet way to end it, just to see that everyone's healthy, happy, everything's at peace. I'm happy that Yuka's alive and, well. I even think we kind of get a silly little joke about Deborah from, I'm not too sure who Yuka is talking to. But yeah, it was a goofy, nice way to end it. And I really enjoyed it. Now, jumping into my overall thoughts on Modulo. This story was really fun. When it first started, I was a little bit late behind. I hadn't even heard of it. I heard that there was a project coming, but I didn't know it had dropped. So YouTube-wise, I had got into it a little bit late, around like 17 or 18 out of the 25, which is kind of crazy. But yeah, no, it was awesome. Some of my favorite moments I just wanted to point out had to be, Maharaga versus Deborah. I mean, some of these panels that they drew were absolutely incredible. And eventually we'll get, some coloration and, some official posters and stuff, because I would really like to put some of these on my wall. I also really like to see Rika kind of go on a mass on Shurgi. That was awesome. And then getting to see what Yuji has become. I mean, it's incredible when you see somebody, that he was really strong towards the end of JJK, but he wasn't like this super overpowered character outside from having Sukuna with him. And so I think that it's awesome to see what he has become without Sukuna. I also think it was really cool to get to see Mahito again. Obviously, that long-running rivalry. It's not even a rivalry. I guess it's just a long-running hate between the two, especially with the way Yuji absolutely dogged him in regular JJK. But yeah, it was really cool to see Yuji's domain and everything that he could do. And yeah, I don't know how everybody felt about the alien side of things. I guess it was a quick way to change the plot and really add the story to it. But I will say that in the end, my feelings are that Gege wants to be done with JJK. Now, I assumed that he already wanted to, and this project maybe was just to do some outside things. But with the end of Curse Users coming up over, the next couple of years, I assume that there's not much JJK left. And as a fan, that really makes me upset, just because I thought that Modulo was going to be this long-running thing. Just with all this success it had, it was really fun. And it was nice to see these new characters coming in. It was nice to see Yuji again. And to know that this is pretty much the end of Curse Users in the JJK universe. Because there's really nothing you can do. I mean, I guarantee you that we're going to see some, a couple things open here, just to cover the scrap of the 300-year period where Curse Users are still being born, and the very powerful ones. So we'll get some cool stories, but it's just sad to know it's the end. And I know that at any point this could be retconned, and they could, like flip-flop and make, Curse Users come back to being prominent. But it's just kind of sad to know that, like, this is the end of JJK. But I guess, everything has to come to an end. And I'm very happy that I got to read this and go through it with y'all. If you've been here and you've watched my, this little series that I've done, I really appreciate you being here. The Modulo was awesome to cover. And I'll have some future projects going on. I know I want to finish up my Neon Genesis review. So I'll probably jump back on that. But yeah, I really appreciate y'all for being here. Make sure to like and subscribe. And thank you for being out here. Y'all have a great day.